Hello, this is WellArmedWithTacos, and welcome back to Stories from Sector 8, the not consistent at all 40k podcast that I do. That used to be partially about fantasy, that is now almost entirely 40k because I don't play fantasy anymore. In this particular video, I am going to be talking about several games. This is actually going to be 3 games instead of 1. And normally I would separate these into 3 videos, but all 3 of these videos would be like 2 minutes long. This one video that spans up 3 games will probably be under 10 minutes, depending on how much I ramble. So I didn't like 2 of these games I played are a week ago because there just wasn't enough content for me to comment on in a full video. There's 3 small games I've played now, so I can kind of stitch them together into some 5 minutes discussion. But this will be quick because they were short games. The first game I played was the campaign game. This video will be marked as campaign series. The first game was campaign. If you're not interested in the non-campaign games, skip the rest of this video after this part. But the first game was a campaign game. We're in the new battle zone of the new campaign, and I believe the rules of this new battle zone is hills are now considered dangerous instead of difficult, and the Gets Hot special rule is gone, and there was something else. Basically, it's like an ice world now, so Gets Hot is gone because things don't get hot anymore. Hills are considered dangerous terrain because you're slipping and sliding all over the hills. And there was one more rule that I can't remember that's probably not very important. Oh, no, I remember. All these mission types have a special objective to them, where wherever your deployment zone is, both players get an additional capture point in their objective zone in each game that they can try to hold for 1 additional point. Not that it matters yet. The reason it doesn't matter is because all the first round games of this new battle zone are only 500 points, and at 500 points, there's no hold the objectives. It's table the opponent. So my first game in my 500 point game, the first round was against the Harlequin player, and I wasn't interested in really playing a 500 point game. It's not enough points to really do anything substantial with Necrons. Warriors are 13 points apiece, so it's not like I can really get off the ground with it. My hero is like I think 190 points. So I didn't even bother bringing him. Like, there's not a lot I can do at 500 points. So I thought about it, and I eventually got to a point where I just kind of said, let's just get this over with one way or the other. And so what I did was I brought 2 Satan. I brought 2 Transcendent Satan at 250 points apiece. No upgrades, of course, or anything. They're Satan. They don't have upgrades. So, in a 500 point game, I brought 2 Toughness 7, Strength 7 monstrous creatures. And everybody, including my opponent, proceeded to heavily berate me for this decision. That they said it was very cheesy, very wrong of me to bring 2 Toughness 7 monstrous creatures to a 500 point game. I disagree with them. I highly disagree with them, especially on the count that I lost. I lost a 500 point game to a 300 point list, and the reason why I say that is I'll get into that in just a minute. I lost pretty effectively. All he brought a Death Jester. No, not a Death Jester. He brought a Shadow Seer. He brought one of his boats with a troop in it, and he brought a Solitaire. He asked what I was playing, and I made the mistake of coming out and telling him I was bringing just the 2 Satan, because he list tailored. Oh yes, did he list tailor? He list tailored like extreme. He definitely, without a doubt, list tailored against me. I really do believe that gave him an easy win. If he didn't know what I was bringing, this might have gone better for me. But he lift tailored hard. I go first because I seize the initiative. He gets to deploy first. I deploy second, then I seize the initiative. I roll my Satan powers times 0, strength D on the Shadow Seer who's not in the vehicle. Miss. My other Satan hits him and kills him. So both my Satan fire kill his one psyker. So I'm all right. I'm feeling okay. Next thing that happens is his turn 1 happens. His boat moves forward. All of his dudes jump out the boat. Turns out they all brought flashbang pistols, which means they wound things on wound things on 2s. So the fact that I'm toughness 7 means nothing. Means diddly squat. He shoots me. He puts 3 out of 5 wounds on the Satan, charges it, and then kills it. And then my other Satan tries to roll his powers, doesn't do a lot. And then I charge them to see if I can kill some of them. I don't. I kill a few of them. I don't die, and then I concede. Because on his turn 2, his Solitaire will come in, and once his Solitaire comes in, the Solitaire will finish what had already been won for him. That's why I say it was 500 points versus 300 points, because he paid for a Solitaire and didn't even need it. It was very quick. The game lasted about 15 minutes. We were actually timing it. So there's not a lot to say. I brought Titan. He brought nothing but Fleshbane, and he left tailored. On the one hand, I'm not too upset about it, because there are scenarios where in 500 points, if you don't bring anything that's strength 4 or better, you cannot wound toughness 7, and it would be an entire board of useless weapons, and that'd make me feel really bad. But he lift tailored against me. I brought Satan under the knowledge that I was playing against Harlequins. Not his Harlequins specifically, but just Harlequins in general, because I know Harlequins are very quick and good in close combat. At 500 points, I can't bring enough of a Necron gun line to be able to kill them before they reach close combat. I can't bring enough guns. That's why I brought the Satan. That was the main influencing decision, because I thought the Satan could possibly try to hold him in close combat. No, didn't happen. Once his troop got in close combat with the Satan, it was dead. It was gone. Dead. Dead. All of his dudes have a thing where if they roll 6, it causes an automatic wound, like in close combat, and he was rolling hot. It was dead. I didn't stand a chance. That's all I can say about that one. Next game, another 500 point game. This was not campaign related. I did another 500 point game with the Chaos Demon player, the person who normally plays Chaos Demon, the person who's GMing this whole thing, this whole campaign. We played a 500 point game just for fun, because I got my new Gene Stealer Cult models in. I actually have models for them now, so I wanted to play my Gene Stealer Cult because I had like 552 points worth of models. So I said, let's do a 500 point game, and he agreed, and I lost. I lost pretty hard. What he did was he played Khorne Demonkin, and he brought nothing but units of cultists at 3 points a model. He had over 100. I think he had 110 something cultists on the table. He outnumbered me well past 3-1. Even with my cultists at 5 points a model, he way outnumbered me, because the majority of my army were acolytes who are 8 points a model. So he definitely had the numbers advantage. Basically what happened is I came out of Cult Ambush and I did some charging, and when I did charging, I killed the unit. But here's the wonderful thing: it's a summoning army, and I'm not going to mince words. It's summoning. All of his cultist units have a rule, because of the formation. I believe he called it Master of Fleet or something, Master of the Horde or something, where he gets to roll a die, and on the 5-up, that unit comes back at full strength, just like the other cultist player uses. And I technically killed one cultist unit, and I killed his independent character Warlord. That's all I did. I killed several cultist units. I think I killed 4 of them. 3 out of 4 came back on a 5-up. 3 out of 4 of them. I killed his one independent character who was not able to come back. But that's all, because he just it was sheer volley of autoguns, and that's why I say there is room to feel bad about bringing Tusatan, because if we had done those lists against each other, Tusatan versus all those autoguns, there's nothing I can do. I mean, there's nothing he can do. I mean, because he can't wound me. Strength 3 guns cannot wound me. He has nothing he can use. I would slowly kill them. He couldn't hurt me. He would be skipping all his turns. There's nothing he could do. That's cultists though. That's a different boat. That's not Harlequins. You cannot complain about something being OP if you can crush it in 15 minutes. And he did. Last game. We're almost at the 11-minute mark here. We actually are at the 11-minute mark. But last game, this one is the shortest game of all. That last game with the cultists took a little bit because we were both trying. This game literally took 5 minutes. Yeah. And if that sounds short, just wait till you hear what the setup was. We played a 2,000-point game, and it ended in 5 minutes. That is not hyperbole. That is not exaggeration. Okay, here's what we did. Today, this is a game I played just today. We played a 2,000-point game. I played against Dark Eldar. We have one Dark Eldar player, and he rarely plays. He rarely plays because he feels Dark Eldar are very underwhelming. He doesn't think their codex is very strong, and I can't speak on the matter. He's one of those types who he definitely feels 40k is especially skewed in balance for some armies more than others. There's a lot of rules he doesn't like. He just doesn't think it's a strong game system. But he played it for a long time. He played it for years. He just doesn't like all the current rules and everything. So we can really only convince him to play once every couple of months. And it doesn't help when games like this happen to the poor guy. But he was kind of brought upon himself. You'll understand shortly. So we agreed to do a 2,000-point game. And ever since the day before, I had an idea in my head that I wanted to try. There is a thing called allies in Warhammer 40k where you can take different codexes, different factions to a single game under your own side. However, some factions hate each other more than others. The worst case scenario was something called Come the Apocalypse, but not before. Just shortened to Come the Apocalypse. If you are Come the Apocalypse with another faction, that means you have a whole, not a whole bunch, but you have one significant disadvantage for trying to work with each other. That is a rule called One-Eyed Open. But to start with, there are Battle Brothers, Allies of Convenience, Desperate Allies, and Come the Apocalypse, but not before. Battle Brothers means your two factions work together frequently. They like each other. That's like saying like Space Marines and Imperial Guard are Battle Brothers. They're working for the same dude, you know? They're the same. There's two military branches of the same government. If you're Battle Brothers, basically you get to apply everything to each other. Like if I take a warlord as my Space Marines warlord trait applies to my Imperial Guard army because they like each other that much. Allies of Convenience is the same thing as Battle Brothers, but you lose all of those perks. Like your warlord trait no longer applies. You cannot cast psychic spells on them. You cannot, or the separate factions' independent characters cannot join each other's units. They can only join their own. Little things like that. It's not a big deal. Then you've got Desperate Allies. Desperate Allies says they don't really want to work together, but they will. Desperate Allies has only one negative modifier. It says you cannot deploy, which means start the game, like when you're putting models on the table. You cannot deploy within 12 inches of each other. So you kind of have to keep them separate. Not a big deal, but it can be a little inconvenient. Come the apocalypse, but not before, is when they are just straight up enemies. Like, say, Codex Tyranids. Codex Tyranids, if you've ever played StarCraft, they're the Zerg. They truly are the Zerg, and I mean that, like, on a very serious level. The Zerg were created from the Tyranids. StarCraft was supposed to be a 140k game before it became its own property. The Zerg were Tyranids. They are the same. Think Zerg for Tyranids. They don't work with anybody. They are come the apocalypse with every single codex except themselves and Genestealer cults. Because they're Tyranids. They are Zerg. They're the big alien bug. They don't work with anybody. They don't make friends. They don't burn the bridge, they eat it, you know? Come the apocalypse has all the negative benefits of everything else, so you don't get to share warlord trait, all that stuff. You don't get to play within 12 inches of each other, just like Desperate Allies, but it also has a rule called One Eye Open, which is if there are any two units within 6 inches of each other that are the opposing factions, you have to roll a die. And on a 1, neither unit can do anything. They can't move, they can't shoot, they can't manifest psychic powers, they can't assault, they can't do anything. Because they're too busy watching each other for betrayal. So my thinking was, I wanted to try to play my Tau, who are, my version of Tau is Gunline Tau. Tau can be very mobile, but mine aren't. I like to play Gunline Tau. I like to sit on my deployment zone and shoot people, because that's what Tau are very good at. So, my thinking was, if I bring my Tau, who start on my deployment zone, and I bring my ally detachment of Genestealer cult, because, if I bring my ally detachment of Genestealer cult, the way the cult ambush chart works, they can all deploy far away from me. So the entire game, I would be staying 6 inches away from each other. And 12 inches away from each other. So there's no negative modifiers for me to have to worry about. The only thing is I have to play them like they're two separate codexes, and that's fine. No warlord traits. I didn't bring any secrets for psychic spells. I'm not worried about independent characters and all them shenanigans. I get to play them as two separate books, and they don't bother each other. The reason I wanted to do this was because my Tau are horrible in close combat by Tau's very own nature. They're not a close combat army. So what you do with Tau is you get in their face and you punch them to death. My thinking was if I brought my Genestealer cult, I could have them deploy right in front of or behind the enemy in their own deployment zone. Like coming in from behind them or whatever. This makes them immediately a problem. So one of two things is going to happen. They're going to shoot down all the Genestealer cult, which is going to probably take it no more than one turn, but no less than one turn either. So that buys my Tau a shooting phase of people not moving closer to them. That is a big blessing for Tau. Or they'll charge forward, ignoring my Genestealer cult, which they can do. There was 500 points of Genestealer cult in a 2,000 point game. It makes sense to ignore them and go after the bigger Tau threat. I understand that point of view, but it opens up their capture points in their deployment zone and their units that don't intend to move forward to be destroyed. So it's good for me either way. That was my thinking, and I realize we've almost gone on 20 minutes. I've been doing a lot of ranting. So that was my thinking. I didn't really get to test that theory. But I still think it would work rather nicely. Here's what happened. The Dark Eldar player liked to live dangerously. Wanted to live dangerously today, if nothing else. He put one unit on the table that was infiltrating. So he deployed first, put his one thing on the table, put nothing on the table, and then went, I'm done. He had nothing on the table, nothing deployed, not a damn thing. I deployed, and then the infiltration phase comes up, and I roll higher, so I get to choose who infiltrates first, and I choose to let him. So he puts his one unit on the table. One unit, just one. Numero uno, one. But he puts him on his very back line, not completely in the back. this was kind of, it was smart on his part, because in theory it should have worked perfectly. His entire army, save for the one unit he had to have on the board, were deep striking. His 2,000 points and like 1,900 something points, because the unit he had on the table was less than 100 points. 1,900 something points, all deep striking. So that was his plan. And if it had gone off, it probably would have been really ugly for me, because they would have gotten really close to Tau really quickly, which is not good for Tau. Here's where the thing failed. And I should also mention, the unit he did put on the table had a 2-up cover save out in the open. So they were really, really durable. There were like 8 of them or something, and they were durable, and they were the only things you had to kill in order to table him. Here's what happens. I roll first. I have 3 units of Genestealer Colts. Technically 4. One of them is an independent character. I take a Primus who has Infiltrate, and I put him in a unit of Acolytes, Acolyte Hybrids. Infiltrate confers to a unit as long as it's on a character, so that gives them all Infiltrate, and if they have Infiltrate, they can use the Cold Ambush special rules. I do so. I roll, I think it's a 3, which is improved Infiltrate, basically. So they come up within 9 inches of him, and you can see he's already a little skittish. He's like, that's a little silly. Here's the kicker, and here's what won me the game. Next unit that I had come out was a 10-man unit of pure Strange Genestealers. I roll a 6. A 6 on the Cold Ambush chart says they can deploy within 3 inches of any enemy unit, and unlike other units that infiltrate or come in from ongoing reserves, they can assault turn 1. So, the Genestealers, which are 10 of them, come up within 3 inches of his unit. His turn 1 happens, nothing can deep strike turn 1, he moves 6 inches away, fleeing for his life, and then 10 Genestealers jump him and wipe him off the board. And he is dead. Not a single one of my roughly 1,500 point Tau gun line was in range. Not a one of them. So I could not have fired upon him. If I was a 100% Tau army, all of his deep strike shenanigans would have happened. I don't know how many of them would have come in, but he would have had the opportunity to roll to find out. Because I was playing Genestealer Cult, and because I got lucky, I rolled that 1-6 on pure Strange Genestealers that lets him come out and immediately charge. That won the game. Because they charge that one unit, and they have a save of 0 in close combat, and the Genestealers all had Scything Talons, which means when the 10 of them charge you, that was 50 attacks. They were not surviving that. He was very displeased that I was able to assault our reserves like that. I tried to explain to him it's a 1 in 6 chance, and if I roll a 1, it's really bad for me. But it didn't help make him feel any better. He says it was his mistake to put so many things in Deep Strike Reserve. I think it would have gone off without a hitch if I hadn't gotten so lucky with that 1 die roll. But basically, you can summarize this game up as the Tau and the Dark Eldar march towards each other in this grand old epic fight. And the camera is looking at the stern Tau sergeant, glaring, and it like looks at whoever Dark Eldar model glaring, and they're moving forward, loading their guns, getting ready for battle, and all of a sudden from the Dark Eldar, when it's looking at the Dark Eldar from the left of the screen, off screen that you can't see, you just see a Genestealer pounce on him, and he's not on screen anymore, and you just hear ah, and you see the Tau, and it goes back to the Tau guy, and he's just backing up and looking like, I don't want anything to do with that. That's basically what happened. The Tau move forward, Genestealers come out, and the Tau say, nope, we're done, we're leaving, and that's it. It literally was a 2,000 point game that ended in 5 minutes. Now, I matched Durant for 25 minutes, so thank you all for listening, and there should be another story next week. The Dark Eldar player says he wants to play again. And I don't know if he's going to play again, being as evil and as menacing towards me as he can, because he was not happy with how I played. But I am definitely going into next week's game trying to be as soft as I can without being overly obvious that I'm being soft, because I don't want him to feel that this is all 40k is now. I wanna give him an easy win so he can feel a little better. So that's probably what's gonna happen. Expect a loss, another loss video next week. This one was a loss one and a win one. I couldn't make long enough videos out of those other two matches. It was just 500 points of nothing. Alright, thank you all for listening.